Hey everyone, let's take a look at the estimates revision score. So, the estimates revision score represents the actual revision of all the estimates coming from analysts. Over time, analysts update their forecasts, and those revisions are combined to create the revision score line that we see here on the chart. We can also display it directly on the chart as earnings per share revision score. There are two data sources for this metric, FinHub and Zacks. Let's start with the first one and see how it works in detail. Now that we've opened the revision score line on the chart, let's see what it really tells us. When the revision score starts moving higher, it often marks the beginning of a rally for that stock. That's why we track two key metrics, the earnings per share revision score and the sales revision score, together with their changes since the start of the earnings quarter. For example, Apple reported on October 30th. Since that date, the revision score for earnings per share increased by 3.2%, and over the last 90 days, it's up by about 9%. Sales revisions also climbed, 3% for the quarter and 27% over 90 days. This chart shows the revision score for earnings per share and sales. You can switch between source 1 and source 2 to see if both follow the same trend. There's also a really helpful section comparing Apple's competitors, showing their own revision scores, sales changes, and stock prices. And below that, you'll find insights from analyst questions during earnings calls, whether management responded optimistically, and if the concerns were company-specific or sector-wide. For Apple, about 20% of the questions were about broader industry issues, while 80% were focused on company-specific topics, like iPhone performance in China. This gives you a clear sense of analyst sentiment and confidence. You can also look at the consensus view, which shows how much analysts agree on future expectations. For example, for the year 2027, analysts still differ in their forecasts, simply because Apple reported only a few days ago, so estimates are still being updated. So, let's go to the screener. Here, you can filter by revision change in value or sales revision in value. Now let's filter for stocks that have positive estimate revisions since the beginning of the current earnings quarter. We'll set the minimum change to 0 for both earnings and sales. As a result, we can see all the companies where analysts have recently increased their estimates, meaning expectations for both earnings and sales are improving. To make the search stronger, we can add a filter for at least 1 point improvement in both earnings and sales, and then combine that with earnings momentum, setting it to be greater than 10. Now we're left with around 175 stocks showing strong revisions and momentum. Finally, to rank them, we simply give equal weight to earnings per share revision score and earnings momentum. Then click Run, and the system shows the top names, Ciena, Regal Pharmaceutical, Palantir, and several others with the best analyst revisions and momentum signals. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the platform and don't forget to do your own research.